chargers, up too high in the rafters. I got a frog team, new life and attractors. Soon sipping that moonshine and I'm plastered.
Everyone, video. Welcome to the Moonlighters Club. I'm super excited about this. Welcome to the first video interview ever for the Moonlighters Club. Welcome to history.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Boston Public Library basement. So we're chilling here in the Innovation Lab. It's actually really cool if you live anywhere near the city of Boston and you need to do any kind of like creative work, come down to the Innovation Lab here. Bottom floor of the Boston Library. You can just sign up. You've seen a library card. Mine actually expired, but he still let me book equipment. And then you can just book time for free. It's like 3 hours max. So I decided to do that here. I wanted to get the visual, want people to see faces with the stories here. And we have a special guest. You know, I'll let you introduce yourself. Like some of my guests have actual intros that they like to do based on their profession, so I'll just let you go in and I'll be quiet.
All right. My name's Jeff, but I go by DJ JWall. I'm a working DJ here in Boston. Actually live in Somerville. And actually doing it full time, but also do some side hustles as well too. Work as a brand ambassador for a rum company, and yeah, I'm going to talk about how I made the transition to full-time DJing about 3 years ago. So I'm looking forward to it.
What's the name of the rum company?
It's Stolen, actually. The hat right here. So it's Stolen Rum and Whiskey. They're based out of Chicago. About a year ago, I picked up a gig working with them because I came from the bar industry originally. That's why the transitioning to DJing wasn't too bad, because I was already used to late nights and weekends. My wife also works in a bar too, so I kind of always wanted to get back into the liquor industry, but not be like behind the bar having to like bring mats down and like clean a bar at like 4 a.m. So this worked out kind of perfect. So I can sponsor my own gigs too sometimes.
Nice. Were you? Did you do everything in the bar? Were you like a bar bag? Were you?
Yeah. So I worked at a small pub in Somerville. A big draw for me working there was that they booked live music 6 nights a week, and I just have been all about music my entire life. It's funny that I've landed on being a DJ because I kind of came up listening to classic rock and a lot of things that aren't necessarily like DJ music. But then as I got more immersed into being a DJ, I'm like, wow, I can show like, my personality by mixing classic rock, hip hop, disco, whatever, other fun things like that are. So back to the bar though, I was bar manager there. So I booked bands, I did all the liquor ordering and, staff bartenders. It's a pretty small operation, but it was a lot of fun for a while. And then eventually was DJing on my off nights from the bar and basically kind of did that sort of like cost benefit analysis or a balance where I was like, wow, okay, I can replace this shift with the DJ gig and that shift with the DJ gig. And then eventually I'm like, I could just do this full time. So that's a simplified answer. A lot more goes into it, but.
Nice. So when it comes to DJing, how long were you actually... Like, I feel like everyone has, not everyone, right? A lot of people have a love of music and want to do something within the realms of music. So I feel like rapping's a little easier, or singing, because you can rap or sing wherever, right? You can go down the street, you can kick rounds with your boys. When it comes to DJing, at what point, what was that first purchase where you like, this is it? Like, I'm going to actually try to practice this.
Okay, I'd say, it's funny. I would say I've been a DJ 5 to 6 years, and that's right around the time I bought my first set of Technics 1200 turntables, and I think that before that I was dabbling on like controllers, laptop, things like that. I was getting hired for gigs that I probably shouldn't have gotten, but we'll get into that later. But it was when I actually got that first set of turntables that I really think I kind of was like, all right, here's my DJ name, I'm spinning on turntables. That's got to be it. And a lot of people have different stories about that, but I bet if you ask a lot of DJs, that's going to be it when they got the first set of decks. So
how long did it take you to come up with JWall?
It's funny. There's a couple bartenders in Somerville that were calling me that. So my name's Jeff Wallace. Growing up, I was called Wally on sports teams and stuff, and I just thought, like, can't do Wally in Boston. That's, Red Sox mascot. It's just kind of childish, So it took a while to settle on stuff. I was like DJ Jeff W for a while, I think, on a flyer. I was like, I don't know. And then eventually I just started to get more gigs and I had to come up with something. So there was a bartender in Somerville, Spencer Davies.
What up, Spence?
Yeah, what up, man? I got to give him the credit. He said that if I ever make it big, I'd get him royalties. But he just always called me JWall, you know, so it just seemed like the natural sort of progression to be called JWall. I'm deciding it's like J-Wall. Maybe it's J, period wall, or I don't know. I could get creative with the branding, but right now it's JWall's kind of the adult, sort of nickname that I've had, and I guess I'm good with that for a little while.
So you said you were DJing on your off nights. Mm-hmm. Did you have an actual first, I had a first podcast episode, right? I had a regular set tabletop mic, and I kind of prepped for it and went in. When you got ready to DJ, did you have first set? You're like, let me get the thing out, or did you kind of casually ease your way in by just doing a little bit here and there?
Completely by accident. So I was a bartender at Wellesley Country Club back, a long time ago. And a good secret for anyone younger is if you want to get a bartending gig, you're not 21. Country clubs will hire you. Great place to get experience and whatnot. So I bartended there through college. And they knew that I was into music. I had a music blog I was working on at the time and whatnot. And I guess a band might have called out or something for a special event, like a dinner dance or something. And they said, hey, music, you could DJ, right? And I figured, I'm like, how hard could that be? So I borrowed my buddy's band's sound system, grabbed just my laptop, downloaded virtual DJ. It's probably about 10 years ago. And I got my ass kicked. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. I have never been more demoralized. There was one lady who just chewed me out so hard because I'm thinking country club. All right, cool. I'll play old music, whatnot. Earth, Wind and Fire, Jackson 5.
Right. Bitches
cheesy cheesy disco. And all these country club ladies wanted to hear, I guess this would have been late 2000s. They just wanted to hear the new stuff, and I didn't know the new stuff because I wasn't really hip to that at the time. And literally I'm sitting there I got a laptop with the virtual DJ software with the music that I had downloaded that I thought, okay, I can kind of half-ass mix because I didn't really know how to mix yet. And then I had Spotify or whatever in the background. And I think I had an iPod hooked into the mixer too, and all this other stuff. My phone hooked up, and I was trying to mix between all those things. Total train wreck. I think every time I got on the mic in between songs, I'm like, all right, here's another one. I was just getting through it. And I did a few of those early and then realized, if I'm ever going to do this again, I need to actually learn how to do it. And so at that point, I didn't really have any role models or anyone who was DJing. I just kind of looked at what was going on. And so it was this late 2000s. So you had the start of the EDM, which I didn't really identify with, but also then other people DJ Shadow and stuff like that were legendary OG DJs, Z-Trip and whatnot. And I just kind of would watch what they were doing and then get completely discouraged, being I could never touch that. Are you kidding me? Jazzy Jeff's another one. But what I liked about, especially someone like Z-Trip or Jazzy Jeff was that they were mixing every genre. Z-Trip's one person. You could mix the Pixies into Nine Inch Nails into 50 Cent, and whatnot. So I was really drawn to that about 10 years ago, but just didn't really have an outlet to explore it. Was kind of sidetracked with graduating in the recession, trying to find jobs, things like that. And it wasn't till maybe about 5 years ago when I was working at this bar in Somerville, and then a friend was working at a pub in Cambridge called the Druid. Awesome Irish pub that is just classic. Great food, good bartenders, the real deal. And they had DJs on Thursdays for years, and I guess their DJ, they wanted to move in a different direction. And similar to those gigs years before, my buddy's like, oh, Jeff knows music, he can DJ. And so that's when I got that opportunity to spin every week. And thank God I had a very forgiving crowd at first because I really just had to learn on my feet. And so I bought a controller and, immediately got hooked. And within 2 months, bought that first set of turntables and was just yeah, this is what I want to do.
Nice, man.
And yeah, so.
How are you getting gigs at that point?
At that point, really, that weekly gig at the Druid is what just made everything happen. Really, I knew that I was on every week, so I had to think all week of how I'm gonna get ready for that and work on it. And then simultaneously, Brass Union opened, which is awesome bar lounge in Somerville. It used to be called Precinct back in the day, and that was actually bringing me to Somerville first because it had live music, awesome stage. And I was actually booking bands just because I, wanted to kind of be an independent concert promoter. A lot of my friends played in bands, so I thought I should be the person to organize it. So at Precinct, same owners decided to rebrand and flip it over to Brass Union, which was a DJ lounge concept. And they said, hey, you've been booking bands here, why not DJs? And so then I started booking DJs before I was really like fully immersed, but now I had the outlet to meet other DJs and have a bartering trip. I actually could get them gigs. So that's where it started to really happen. I didn't even realize that power at first. And the original DJs I got at Brass and still to this day are so good that I stayed out of it. I didn't book myself on the calendar for at least a few months, if not maybe even a year. Because I saw what these guys were doing and girls, and they were just incredible. Guys like DJ Axel Foley, shout out, Leah V, DJ ABD, Salim from Bad Rabbits. They were some of the early DJs we had, and what I found was that they were all so willing to share. Like, I just sometimes would sit in the booth and watch what they were doing and just wanted to talk about DJing and stuff like that. So I just was a sponge and, just tried to pick up as much as I could when I could and just kind of really surrounded myself with it. So those two things, the Druid and Brass Union right around the same time, I think gave me sort of into this community, and the community kind of took me in, which is really nice.
When did you realize you could quit?
So it would have been summer 2016. I was still working at Bull McCabe's in Somerville, and around then I was also about 2 years into the Druid gig, and Brass Union was going, and then I started to get through the FaceTime I've had at the Druid, people would be like, oh, do you have a card? I got a party. Why don't you do this? And I was like, oh, cool. There's this whole other thing. I can actually do fun parties. They don't have to be like dinner dances or things, Sweet 16, stuff like that. So I'm like, wow, there's a whole, if you network, there's a whole underbelly of gigs that exists. So that started to kind of spark my interest. And so it was right around August 2016 where I looked at what I had coming up in the fall. I was like, I think I can make this work. Like, numbers-wise, I crunched it. I'm like, it'll be a little bit of a hit. I'm going to be a little lean for a little while. But I think if I really put myself fully into this, there's something here. And it took a little while, and I was always thinking, I'm like, all right, maybe next month I'll go back to bartending. I don't know. And it just kept going. And now, almost 3 years later, it's growing every month, so I'm
See, I think I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to go for and I like my job. I actually haven't had a really bad job in a while, but I still want to go this shit is working. Let's burn all these bridges and quit in front of everybody. That's like
Trust me. I mean, this place, especially, the hats off to all my, bartender friends and everything. It is physically and emotionally draining, and as is DJing to some extent, but at least with bartending, you'd get done at 2 and then you have to clean up after everybody, and then it's 3 a.m. and you want are like, all right, I'll have a drink, and then suddenly it's 5:30. It's tough. So I know DJing's also nightlife, and you're around a lot of those things, but there were times where I literally was just like, this is the last one, I'm gonna walk out. But I think you got to do things right. Everyone wants to do that, flip the table over and run out kind of thing. But I'm glad I didn't do that because, Boston, whether it's, on the bar industry or the nightlife industry, it's such a small town. And there are times that I've, wanted to tell people to F off. And I'm just like, you don't know who they know or when a gig's going to come back to you in 2 years. It's just so... really interesting. I've actually never had a 9-to-5 when I think about it.
Really?
Yeah. I've had full-time jobs, managing bars, things like that. But I've always just kind of been working on a lot of different things. When I graduated, it was right after the 2008 crash.
Okay.
And I had a marketing degree, so that was pretty useless for a little while. And I had a good bartending gig, and I liked music, so I just kind of rolled with it.
When I was during the crash, I was working at a FedEx Kinko's, which is still to this day the greatest job I've ever had in my entire life. I loved working at it. It was a big wall. and then we all worked like on the machines in the back, so people couldn't come back. But it was so dope. And that I remember during the crash, like I hadn't gone back to school yet, so I'm like, I don't get what the big deal is. Like I'm good. Like I got copies. Like I'm chilling. But yeah, that's like it was one of the shittier times, especially to come out of school.
Yeah,
because there's nothing more disillusioning than that.
100%. I mean, and like, I went to BC, shout outs there. And like when you went in, it was like, oh, this degree is so great. You're guaranteed a job starting at this salary in finance or marketing or whatever. And that was all BS. None of that happened. And I think if anything, I'm happy I graduated when I did. It made me really, think on my feet, use some things I learned in college, use some things I learned on, I almost said on the streets. I've never really, but like out in, the city and whatnot. Yeah, no. The streets of Chestnut Hill, like, no. But anyway, so, if anything, it made me kind of be a scrapper, and work my way through. And I think that's helped me a lot through, different parts of, my career, both in nightlife and as a DJ. So
what's it like telling people you're a DJ? I feel like
it's interesting. Yeah.
I feel like there's certain professions you tell people and then it just conversation that comes after that could.
It's funny. I feel like times are changing. Like, a few years ago, if you told someone you were doing something like that, they'd have like an image of you, like, either A, like, oh, are you one of those hands in the air DJs that plays festivals? Like, there's like, that's like 0.00001% of the DJ population. Yeah. Or they think you're like, wearing the sequins vest, like, making cheesy toast, playing the cha-cha slide at a wedding. But there's a lot of DJ opportunities in between those two spectrums. So when I tell people I'm a DJ, I just kind of say, family members, people that don't get it. I think the immediate thing is that, and first of all, actually, my entire family, shouts to them. They completely support me through all this. So, but I think a lot of people think like it's a party. It's not really a job. And I think my goal is to tell them, no, this is a job. This is a viable career. And, I look up to DJs that have bought houses being a DJ and, have supported families and stuff like that. So it really, it's a different path, I feel like, but it has, at least, with people around me, has definitely been, something that's been taken positively. So it's pretty cool.
How long did it take you to being a standalone DJ to know it was permanent? Because I feel like when you're first out, money issues, things come up, there's always that thing. Is it all the time with DJing, or is there a point where you felt like, it'll get rough, but I will be doing this for the foreseeable future?
Interesting. At first 6 months, just like looking at stuff, when I had a slow month, it definitely raised some questions. But what's great, at least about booking certain gigs and whatnot, is like suddenly you get a wedding a year out and you take a deposit. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. Like, so we're getting there. So I think I knew it was something that I was going to go all in for at least 3 to 5 years. And I did set myself up when I did leave bartending to know that I probably could, on the trajectory I saw, at least survive a couple of years without having to go back.
Nice.
I might like pick up things. I think I did pick up random bar shifts here and there, like just to have a little extra money to take a little pressure off. And I think that helped, just kind of having that outlet to, like just know that, all right, if it's a slow month, I'll have something to fall back on. But that being said, with like having a weekly at the Druid, having Brass Union, and having a few other spots, I kind of knew that there was consistent kind of income coming, and then I just sort of tried to add to that. And so it was always adding, which is good. So I'm lucky. There hasn't been times where I've like had to be like, oh, it's time to do something else. There have been opportunities that have come to me where I'm like, oh, I actually could add that, and then hey, that takes some pressure off DJing. And that's what we talked earlier. Like for about the last year, I've been a brand ambassador for Stolen Spirits, awesome company out of Chicago, and that fits so well into what I'm doing with DJing, because I really do that on my own time, and it's the same network that I'm already in. So it only, if anything, kind of expands my, I think, my brand and what I can bring to the table.
Nice. See it, sew on hat. I'm an
Yeah.
ambassador of the
I'm gonna get one for
Pittsburgh
you.
Steelers. They don't
Nice.
pay me, actually.
Nice.
I paid them like a good amount of money just to participate
Yeah.
in this and watch games. But that's dope, dude.
No.
I like how you're merging different fields into it.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the actual art, like outside of, well, let's talk about DJing itself.
Yeah.
Right? While you're out there, what are the tough things about DJing while you're actually DJing?
I think it's sometimes that every gig's different, but I feel like a DJ is hired by the business because the business trusts them to curate the night, to read the room, to see that there's a flow, to see you're not going to play Mo Bamba at 10:02. Like right from the jump.
Yeah.
You gotta like marinate and let people kind of come up and come down. So I think the challenge is sometimes when you're playing a very tough crowd is that they want to hear all the hits right off the jump, and you need to just kind of warm them up and whatnot.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and that's something that's just has taken experience. I was so daunted the first time, like I had a full dance floor at like 10:15 in one of my early club nights, and I just didn't know what to do. I'm like, how do I hold them off? What do I do? What do I do? And I think that over the years I've gotten more comfortable in that position. So that's one thing.
How do you handle requests?
I'm really nice. Honestly, they're usually very predictable. So what's the big track right now? Oh God, it's Old Town Road.
Really?
I know exactly. We can get into that later. But I look at that and it's a challenge, like because I'm like, I hate that song, but I don't hate the reaction the crowd has. And I'm not there necessarily for me the whole time. There'll be little times where I can put myself in there, but at the end of the day, I'm getting hired to make sure the crowd has a good time.
Right.
So another challenge is to play music necessarily that I don't like, but if I'm there to play it, I like most of it. But requests, your question, like I try to be really nice and respectful. So if someone's like, hey, you always know, they come up, they have that like little waddle, and they're just like, they're like, do you take requests? And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. What do you want to hear? And so I'll turn the booth volume down. I'll hear them out. And if it makes sense, I'll try to, put it somewhere in the back of my brain. If it's something that like, I'm like, oh, cool, I'm on that wavelength, I'll play it next sometimes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people are smarter than you think. They actually can see where you're going, which is awesome. I love when that happens. If someone requests something and I'm like, wow, that's in the same key and BPM. Do you know music? Like, what's up? That like gives me faith. But a lot of times it is like Old Town Road or something. I had like 10 requests for that last night, and I'm like, all right, cool. I'm gonna kind of get there at some point. And most of the time, people are respectful. Very rarely. There's a difference between like a request and a demand, as I say. Like, and when someone comes up with a demand and is really rude, I'll be nice back once. Second time, I might give them a little attitude, but I'm just generally a nice person that doesn't like confrontation. So, if someone's gonna request something, I'll at least hear them out. I might not play it. But if someone, it's funny, they always inevitably come up when I literally have like 2 records in the mix. I'm EQing, my headphones are on, head's down. I'm like trying to like nail that next drop. And that's when they come up. And a lot of times I give them the old like 1 second. And I hate it. Like most of the time people get it, but like last night, literally like some dude's like, bro, like on my shoulder. And I'm like, so close to just wanting to put the music down. I've seen a DJ do this and be like, don't touch me. But it just comes with the territory, so it's not the worst. That's the worst thing I got to deal with.
Is it hard for you to enjoy going out now that you know how to mix music? Are you just
good question? You should ask my wife that.
Have you gin and tonic in your hand and you're like, that's the wrong BPMs? Like, are you?
Yeah, or I've been to numerous weddings. I'm in that age where all my friends are getting married, so like I had 6 weddings last year, and I can't tell you like how many times someone's like, oh, you should go up and talk to the DJ, like he's struggling, like, and I was like, no, I just want to have a drink and hang in the back. But inevitably it's because what I do and what I hear, I'll be listening on the radio just to a song and be like, oh cool, like I'd blend this out of this, or I'll hear a song play out on the radio to like the 3rd verse and I'll be like, oh, that's what the 3rd verse sounds like, that's a pretty good verse, I should play that. So I'm always, anytime I'm consuming music, I think my work brain's still on to some extent, and I think that's something that can be troubling. Like I think I should go back to like the days when I used to listen to music just to listen to it, and not like skim through the first like 20 seconds, be like, does that work? Does that not work? Maybe folder, that definite folder, whatever. And that's kind of how I sort a lot of music that I'm going to play. But I feel like I also should just like take an hour a day to go listen to like indie folk artists or things that like I also dig, you know, and nice. I think that like I need an outlet for my outlet almost, like, you know, I work in music, but also I should look at music also as something I can, you know, just enjoy.
What's your highest high?
Highest high as far as DJing?
As far as DJing. What moment can you always look back on regardless of what happens in the future and you're like, you know what?
You know, there are so many. I feel like
so many. That's very modest.
I hate to say it, exactly. No, it's funny because like right when you think, I want to think my highest high is the next one as far as I go, and that's how I look at it.
I think about that with drugs. You're like, I want to.
Yeah, I was like, what are you talking about? Like, all right.
But no, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Did you have a particular party though, where you were like, yo, that was.
There are a few for sure. I'd say. The Jameson Bartender's Ball is a crazy party. I don't know if they still do it, but I did 3 of them right when I first started out. And the second one, this is maybe like 3-4 years ago, and it was right when I was thinking of going full time, was at the Sinclair, which is an awesome venue. You know, shout outs to the Bowery and everyone that works there. But they had rented out the Sinclair, had a band, and then had me like go on after the band and throw a dance party. And I've never played on a sound system that big. I was scared, but then once I got up there, and heard how good music sounds on a sound system like that, I was like, this is actually easier. I can hear everything here. Yeah. There's space. I can hear space between the notes. You know, I'm up on a stage. No one's bothering me. I just like zoned out and did it. And I had like multiple friends after like text me, be like, that was incredible, you know, and also having 500 people dancing in front of you and hands in the air and stuff like that gave me a lot of confidence. And if anything, that gig I knew was a big one. So I spent months like with, you know, whiteboard, like being like, you know, I don't ever really plan my sets, and I still didn't really plan that one, but I at least planned like little pockets of things and like kind of organized tracks to be like, all right, if I get in trouble, I'll, you know, go in this direction or whatever. And it's funny, once you get into the gig and start reading the crowd, it's just like, you know, all that's out the window. But I felt I really tried to step it up because I knew on a sound system like that, there's no hiding. Like, you know, if like you're mixing something that's not right, it's going to be jarring. So that was one. And then another one was a couple weeks ago. I got hired to do the Boston Marathon Expo, where like all the runners pick up their numbers and stuff. So I DJ'd all 3 days at the expo during the day. And just like to be able to work for people and play music that are like, you know, aren't going out to get messed up. They're actually there like, you know, doing healthy things and stuff like that. That was really cool. And just in general, I think that's kind of where I want to be in the industry is working, you know, maybe non-nightlife events, you know, sometimes corporate parties or sporting events, things like that. It just was great because I felt like I had turntables there. You know, and people were just like saw me mixing on turntables, and I think a lot of people haven't necessarily in that environment have seen that, and so like got a lot of people like videoing, asking questions, how does this work, and whatnot, which usually at like, you know, at 12:30 when you're trying to make a club go crazy, that those questions are annoying, but during the day I was like, this is cool, I'm actually bringing this to a whole different world. So those are the type of gigs, you know, that I think moving forward I want to do, and I think that DJing at the Boston Marathon Expo was certainly a huge high for me.
Nice.
Probably the highest of the high, and the most recent one. So,
what's your end goal? If there's not a major end goal, at least what would be a good measure of success a few years out from now?
That's a good question. I always want to just be moving forward. That's how I've worked, you know, into DJing right now, and the end goal might not necessarily be like, I'm going to be the biggest DJ producer in the world. I want to be, you know, happy DJing where I have a balance, you know, expressing myself in the gigs where I can play all the genres I want, and then also playing the gigs I know that, you know, are good to play because I'm a working DJ and I got to take them. And I think growing the DJ business to a point where I can always go back to it. Like it's just solid. I think that's something that's pretty cool. I want to actually figure out maybe some younger DJs that I can kind of, you know, work with and influence. I've had so many DJs older than me that have really taken me along. So I think that's a good thing to give back to the Boston DJ
That'd be
community.
cool, man. That'd be nice.
So that's definitely one thing too. But in general, I just kind of want to keep music moving. I think music's always been the trend on this. So what could it be next? My wife and I have talked about maybe eventually opening a restaurant or a bar or something like that. I feel like I've always worked, in the bar and restaurant community and nightlife and stuff like that, and it's been very good to me. So that could be one way to give back. Speaking of Pittsburgh, I was listening to a podcast recently. The Road podcast is Reflections of the DJ, which is like kind of one of the most incredible resources for a DJ. It's for amazing DJs who are based in Vegas that interview all the best DJs around. And one of their interviews was this guy DJ Nugget, who's out of Pittsburgh, and he owns 2 bars there. And it was really cool to hear how he made the transition from, being a DJ to being, basically a venue owner. And it's something that like 5-6 years ago I saw venue owners and was like, oh God, that's something I never want to do. But now as I get more experience in the industry, I'm like, I actually could see myself doing something like that, So I think that's one kind of goal that's far out, but I just always want to keep growing. I want to travel a little bit as a DJ too. So as far as end game goes, I don't know. We'll ask me that in 5 years. We'll see.
Sounds
But
like you got some options.
Yeah, totally.
You got some variety, which is good. You have multiple milestones. Excuse me.
Yeah, but I always just kind of want to be gaining, experience, network, contacts, do things like this. I mean, this is awesome, and whatnot. So.
Well, dude, I appreciate your time.
Yeah, totally.
Appreciate
it. Yeah,
and
totally.
We'll definitely have to check you out at a few events.
Absolutely. Yeah. So every Thursday at the Druid, 10 to 2. That's kind of like my home base. That starts my work week. So my work week's usually Thursday through Sunday, not like Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 like most people. But I start there, and that's where I can play anything I'm vibing on. So I always I found crazy Smokey Robinson remixes that are over hip hop beats, things like that, and that's where I play those. And then Friday, Saturday I'm in a lot of different bars and clubs. Play at Good Life a lot, Alibi, other places like that. So all that's on my website, www.djjwall.com, Instagram DJ_JWall. Also the same on Twitter too, and then Facebook. Yeah, who cares?
Nice.
No, I send everything to Facebook too, but social media is exhausting.
It is. It's a lot of work.
I'm trying to grow with it, but yeah. So definitely, if you need a DJ or know a friend that needs a DJ, hit me up.
Well, yeah, we'll make sure to look you up. Everyone, look up DJ JWall.
Awesome.
Moonlighters Club. You can find us various places, but the website moonlightersclub.com will have all of our info. We have clips on YouTube, Instagram, Moonlighters Club. And then you can find the podcast anywhere you can find podcasts. So iTunes, Google Play, whatever you want to go through. But hopefully we get to do more of this, man. This is our first one. I like this. I thought this was cool.
This is awesome. And I want to send you a mix too. I'll put together a half an hour mix of just things I'm vibing on, so people can get a sense of kind of what I'm all about. So
that'd be cool, man. I'd love to start a show with that. That'd be dope.
Yeah,
man.
Totally. Yeah, I'll send that to you very soon. We'll follow up on that. But
well, everyone, thank you for your time. JWall, thank you for yours, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Awesome. Cheers.
Bye.